1960, Jane Goodall.
And there is no doubt that people have much to say.
That the only thing we have to fear is...
One small step for man.
For now, decisions are upon us.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I have a dream.
Idea of a democratic and free society.
This nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
Welcome back and thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of Contemporary Issues in International Relations. So this episode's topic is on migrants and migration. I've increasingly seen it in articles on all over different news media agencies on India, and when they first closed, when they first did their shutdown because of the pandemic. And like millions of migrant workers from the south were trapped in the north and trapped in several different parts of India. And they couldn't get home because the public transportation was just cut. So this was like eye-opening for many of us. And for me specifically, because I was looking at it and just thinking, wow, how are they going to get back home? The shutdown is obviously a necessity, but you also need to evaluate like feasibility, if it can be done and if they have a chance to go home, because literally millions of migrant workers were having to walk thousands of miles back home. And as they were walking home and catching, a bus home and jumping on whoever's passing by, and they just hitchhike. But people just were walking home in families, elderly, young, middle-aged. The soaring heat is one aspect that was increasingly dangerous for them walking home. So this is just something that made me open my eyes to what migrants had to go through during this pandemic. If it's difficult for us to deal with this lockdown and being closed and everything just being shut down, imagine migrants that are already receiving significant difficulties in reaching their destination and reaching their objective. It's increasingly hard for them now because of countries around the world closing their borders. I saw last week in a picture, I think it was on Instagram, in California, and it was boxes of tomato, right? What? And on each box, they had a picture and an ID or numerical value, some number. I think it was their ID or maybe some number that represents them. And it had their picture, so the picture of the person who harvested the produce, right?
¿Qué acabo de decir yo, señor?
I saw this,
Ay, Dios
and
mío.
I was like, wow, this is so ingenious, and this is the right thing to do. It basically shows the buyer, the consumer, who produced their food, or rather who helped to bring it to the final step, which is the grocery store. And it creates this connection, the concept of seeing where your food comes from, which is super important for us to know. Since societies have developed and urbanization has occurred, we've gotten further from seeing where our food comes from and seeing just what food is and just some people don't even know what type of trees, shrubs. This concept and idea is a super important and super needed thing to do to seal the gap that we have between people in cities having their lives and their jobs, and this is their mind, and people in other areas of the country and other areas of society that don't necessarily come together and don't communicate, interact with each other, engage with each other. And so this is a way to kind of interconnect them. So when you go buy the produce, you see, wow, this is the person who did this. I just want to read a little thing that I wrote.
No.
The more we ignore others' problems and continue our ignorant single track, the more chaotic this world becomes. And in the end, it comes back to bite us. We all live in the same earth. We all breathe the same air. We all drink the same water. And the world is interconnected and the world is small. So when you think this doesn't affect you, it does. And you could take this and put it into all perspectives and all aspects of society today. We all live in a circular world where everything is connected. So when you think something doesn't affect you, it really does, and it really will. And you will probably realize it quicker than you thought. Migration is super important for survival. If you've seen those documentaries, you see animals moving, and migration is important to animals. Why? Because movement is life, and motion is life. And if you don't move, you'll die. You need to survive, so you need to keep moving. You need to keep feeding on the newest grass, and you need to find water. You know, not all environments that animals live in have water, so they need to keep moving to find water, to find food.
Migration is life.
Okay. The 1648 Treaty of Westphalia, basically saying that states have sovereignty, made it so that borders exist. They are real borders between states. So this made migration hard. If we know that migration and movement is life, then what are borders? We have the Treaty of Westphalia, and so we have to respect state sovereignty. But in terms of the animal world, migration is life. And if you don't move, you'll die. So the next two videos, the connection of food, where the food comes from, where food comes from. The connection of food from the farm to the food on your table, why we should be seeing who picks and prepares our produce and food, and bring back our girls, the Nigeria's missing girls. They're still missing, the ones that are taken by Boko Haram. So these are the two topics that I want to do the next two videos on. If you have any ideas, if you think of anything, please let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.